And good morning. Last week we talked to the Speaker Pro Tem, who's Representative Harold Wright. We talked about State Question 640. They want to roll back. He does. A lot of members of the House want to roll back State Question 640, which is that 75% threshold the legislature has to get over to pass tax increases. This week, John Tidwell, the Oklahoma Director of Americans for Prosperity, is going to retort. It's good to have you in, John.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. You think that rolling back State Question 640, moving from a 75% threshold to 60% is a bad idea?
Concern that I think so many people have, and I believe every Oklahoman can agree, frustration with what's going on at the Capitol. But it's frustration not just with the legislature, not with the House and the Senate, with the governor. It's the way the entire system works. The concern we have is that you've got the will of the people that was passed in 1992 that says you can't raise taxes without a 75% threshold. And you know what? That's worked. We're in this position because of 640, but the problem is that government, our policymakers in Oklahoma City are not willing to look at what the other problems are. The problem is not we need to raise revenue. The problem is we're not looking at what we're spending. That's a real issue.
All right, one of the issues this entire week has been teacher salaries in Oklahoma.
Sure.
The Superintendent Hoffmeister proposed $5,000. A lot of legislation going through the state legislature during the special session to raise teacher salaries.
Right.
How do we raise teacher salaries if we don't have new revenue?
First of all, I don't think we're truly getting a clear picture, and this is being talked by a lot of people. We're not getting a true clear picture of the budget and exactly how much money we have coming in and how much money we have going out, and the money going out, where it's going. We have a problem in the health department now where you got $30 million that's missing, and it took a very long process to get to the point that they even realized that that money was gone. There was not communication, there was not transparency in that process. What we really need to do is open that up and get a much better sense before we go out and raise taxes, before we go out and try and generate a lot more revenue, which there's a lot of plans out there to do that now. We're not getting a clear sense of what we're actually spending the money on.
All right, now we know that the governor has done a new call for the special session,
right,
which is obviously the Step Up Oklahoma plan. The Step Up Oklahoma plan has a lot of revenue-raising measures, but it also has enormous amount of government reforms. Can you support that?
I'm thrilled the fact that they're talking about reforms because those are things we've been talking about for years. And I'm glad that there's more attention on the reform side. But there are reforms that need to be discussed that are not on the table. There are reforms that were discussed very early on in the process that are not on the table now. And they're things that I think that people know that we do not have a problem with how much money we're actually bringing in. The problem is what we're actually spending the money on. And before we can address, you can't raise taxes and create smaller government. It doesn't work that way.
So the bottom line is you're going to be for getting that $5,000 teacher pay raise, but you want to have these
reforms. It has to be looked at very closely, yes, absolutely.
All right, last question. One of the things that Mr. Rainbolt said was there were sequencing problems. He said the reason we're moving forward to Step Up Oklahoma like this is because there's been a lot of sequencing. We can't do this until that is done. He says we need to paint a broad brush, do all of these things to get moving. So can you support the Step Up plan, bottom line?
No, at this point, no. The reform side of it needs to be looked at very closely. There's a lot of reforms we've talked about for many years that, quite honestly, need to be closely examined and need to be pushed, but we cannot support raising $800 million in taxes to do it. You cannot raise taxes and shrink government at the same time. It doesn't work that way.
All right, John Tidwell, Oklahoma Director of Americans for Prosperity. It's good to have you in.
Thank you.
All right, see this again at news9.com/yourvotecounts.